Hi students, good morning. During the last two classes, we were discussing about calculus, the method of calculus. I think all of you are familiar with that methods and all of you are thorough with that general rules. We have seen the method of differentiation and we have some general rules in differentiation. Then we learned about the method of integration and we have some general rules in integration. So I already told you method is not our concern, but the general rules that we learned during those two classes are using for physics derivations, or in different steps we are making use these general rules. So our purpose is we have to derive the equations of motion using the method of calculus. So we learned those two methods, and using the general rules, now we are going to derive the equations of motion using the method of calculus. So before going to the derivations of equations of motion, first of all you know what is differentiation and what is integration, that we have already done. So with respect to the process of differentiation, we have to derive, or we have to define the physical quantities which is related to motion. Suppose you are observing an object and that object is moving with respect to time. That means as the time changes, its position changes. So you are measuring the changes in its position with respect to time. You are measuring the changes in its position with respect to time. So variation in position with respect to time. Variation in position with respect to time. What is that? Rate of change of displacement or rate of change of distance. Variation in position with respect to time, where time is the independent variable and the position is the dependent variable. So you are measuring the variation of a dependent variable with respect to the changes in its own independent variable. Position changes with respect to time. Position is the dependent variable and time is the independent variable. So dx by dt or delta x by delta t, you know delta x by delta t is velocity. When delta t tending to 0, which means we are limiting that delta t change in time is very short, then it will become delta x by delta t with a limit delta t tending to 0. What is that? Dx by dt. What is dx by dt? That dx by dt is velocity. Dx by dt is velocity. So velocity you can express in terms of differential as v is equal to dx by dt or ds by dt. Whatever may be, which notation that you are using, that is not a problem. But rate of change of displacement is velocity. Rate of change of or differential of displacement is velocity. Differential of displacement with respect to time is velocity. Velocity is dx by dt. Remember that. Then rate of change of velocity with respect to time. What is that? Change in velocity with respect to time. We have to measure the changes in velocity with respect to the changes in time. What is that? dv by dt. What is dv by dt? Rate of change of velocity. Rate of change of velocity is acceleration. So a is equal to dv by dt. Okay, so you are expressing, or we are expressing the terms that you have already knowing in terms of differentials. Velocity you know, acceleration you know, so all these we are expressing in terms of differential. That is v is equal to dx by dt, a is equal to dv by dt. That is a differential equation, certain differential equation. So you can express in terms of differential. You can express in terms of differential. Okay, So we are using these equations in terms of differentials for deriving equations of motion using the method of calculus. Okay, and you are making use your general rules also. So keep all these in your mind. We are going to derive the equations of motion using the method of calculus. Are you ready? Then come. Okay, so we can start with equations of motion using calculus. So the first equation of motion, that is a velocity time equation. Velocity time equation. The situation already we have defined. The particle is moving, an object is moving along a straight line with uniform acceleration a. Uniform acceleration a means its velocity changes equally in equal interval of time. U be the initial velocity when you start the observation, that is when t equal to 0. When you start your observation, that is the time t equal to 0. At that moment, the velocity is u. And at a later instant t, the velocity be v. That means after after a time t you are observing again, then you find its velocity is v. dv be the infinitesimal small change in velocity in infinitesimally small time interval delta t. That means for a very small changes in time delta t, velocity changes by dv. Then according to the definition for acceleration, a is equal to dv by dt. A equal to dv by dt. We have already said that a is equal to dv by dt. And you are just rearranging that equation as dv is equal to a dt. No doubt about that. dv is equal to a dt. Now, in the left hand side you are having dv. On right hand side you are having a dt. So you have to integrate on both sides. You have to integrate on both sides. So integral dv is equal to integral a dt. Integral dv is equal to integral a dt. And I already told you it's a definite integral because your observation is from 0 to t. So on the right hand side we are having dt. The variable is dt. And the dt is changing from 0 to t. So its lower limit will be 0 and its upper limit will be t. So on the right hand side you are expressed integral 0 to t a dt. Integral 0 to t a dt. 0 is the lower limit and t is the upper limit. See, when time varies from 0 to t, when time varies from or dt t varies from 0 to t, what about the changes in v? When t equal to 0, v is equal to u. When t equal to t, then v equal to v. So on the left hand side you are having the variation in v. So v can vary from u to v. So the lower limit of dv will be u and the upper limit of dv will be v. That is, the lower limit means the minimum value and upper limit means the maximum value. So limit on both sides we have defined now, that is integral u to v dv equal to integral 0 to t a dt. Is it clear? On the left hand side we are having the variation dv. On the right hand side you are having the variation dt. dt varies from 0 to t. Similarly, dv varies from u to v. So the limits are also fine. Then when you are integrating dv, what you are getting? V. Integral dv, integral dx is x. So integral dv will be v. Then you are applying the upper limit minus lower limit. V gets the value, upper limit means v minus the lower limit u. So v minus u will be upper limit minus lower limit, which is equal to, see, integral 0 to t a dt. What is a? Acceleration. Acceleration is a constant. Acceleration is constant. So that constant you can take out, so that will become a into integral 0 to t dt. You write a into integral 0 to t dt. Integral dt is t. A into t will be there with a limit 0 to t. T can vary from 0 to t. When t takes the upper limit t minus t takes the lower limit 0, t minus 0 will be resulting. A into t minus 0. T minus 0 is t. So that will become a into t. So the left hand side you are getting v minus u. On the right hand side you are getting at. So v is equal to u plus at. That is your first equation of motion. Is it clear? Nothing we have done. We have started with that equation a is equal to dv by dt. Then we have rearranged that dv is equal to a dt. You are integrating on both sides. While integrating, you have to define the limits. T is the independent variable, so it is varying from 0 to t. As t varies from 0 to t, v varies from u to v. So limits are also clear. Then integrate using the equations, and finally upper limit minus lower limit. Variable takes the upper limit minus lower limit. Then we are getting that equation v is equal to u plus at. Okay, so what do you feel? It is an easy method? Sure, it is an easy method if you are practicing that integration and differentiation, the rules of integration and differentiation. So the first equation we have derived by starting the equation a is equal to dv by dt. Now we can go for the second equation. What is second equation? S equal to ut plus half at square. So obviously that should be in S or X. So we can start with the second equation with a differential equation which includes displacement. What is that equation? Velocity equation. So velocity v is equal to ds by dt. V is equal to ds by dt. So you can start with that equation v is equal to ds by dt. Okay. So we can go for the second equation of motion. Starting with that equation, v is equal to ds by dt. Okay, we have that equation. We are starting with that equation, v is equal to ds by dt. On rearranging, we are getting ds is equal to v dt. But v you have already defined. What is v? That is u plus at. So that will become u plus at into dt. Again, when you are considering the left hand side, it is variable ds. And ds is changing from 0 to s. That means when you are observing that object, its position will be 0, and finally you are observing as s. And on the right hand side the variable is dt. Dt is varying from 0 to t. So the limits on the left hand side will become, limits for ds will become 0 to s. Limit for time will become 0 to t. So on integrating, you are getting integral 0 to s ds is equal to integral 0 to t u plus at dt. See that right hand side, it is integral 0 to t u dt plus at dt. U into integral 0 to t dt plus a into integral 0 to t t dt. Which rule you have used there? First one, first rule that you have used there is integral of a sum. Integral of a sum is sum of integrals. And again, first integral will be integral 0 to t u dt. From there, u is a constant, so that u can be taken out. So u into integral 0 to t dt. Plus second integral will be integral 0 to t at dt. Again, a is a constant, so it can be taken out. So second integral will become a into integral 0 to t t dt. Okay. So left hand side, when you are integrating ds, you are getting s. Integral ds will be s, and the limit from 0 to s, plus u dt. U is into integral 0 to d dt. u remains there and integral dt will be t by applying the limit 0 to t plus a into integral 0 to t t dt. Integral 0 to t dt will become t to the power 1 plus 1 divided by 1 plus 1, because integral x to the power n dx will be x to the power n plus 1 divided by n plus 1. So here it will become t square divided by 2 between the limit 0 to t. Okay, then on the left hand side you have to apply the limit s minus 0. S minus 0 will remains as s equal to u into t minus 0. T minus 0 will again remain as t plus a into t square by 2 minus 0 square by 2, which is a variable there t, and the t gets value upper limit means t square by 2 minus 0 square by 2. Again that will become t square by 2. So left hand side will become simply s, right hand side first term will become ut plus half into a t square. What is that? That is your second equation of motion. Again, s is x minus x0. X minus x0 is where x is the final position and x0 is the initial position. So final position minus initial position is the displacement. X minus x0 is s. So final position will be x equal to x0 into ut plus half at square. Is it? Final position is equal to initial position plus displacement. Final position is initial position plus displacement. Is it okay? So that is your second equation of motion. Again, it is a very simple method, is it? You have started with the velocity equation. V is equal to ds by dt, rearranged v dt is equal to ds, then integrated on both sides. Left hand side integral is on ds, so it is varying from 0 to s. Right hand side variable is dt and it is varying from 0 to t. You are integrating, you are making use of the general rules and applying the limit. That is, applying the limit means upper limit minus lower limit. You are applying the upper limit minus lower limit. Then you are getting that second equation, s equal to ut plus half a t square. Okay, then the third equation of motion. Third equation of motion is, you know, v square minus u square is equal to 2as. Again, the third equation we have, or we are starting with the first equation. That means first equation we have started with acceleration equation. A is equal to dv by dt. Here also you are starting with the same equation, a equal to dv by dt. But here we are making some tricky rearrangements. The tricky rearrangements you have to be thorough. Okay, you just care about the tricky arrangements we have done, adjustments we have done. So then proceed further using your equations of, or general rules in calculus. Okay, we can go for the third equation of motion. Okay, we can go for the third equation of motion. We can go for the third equation of motion. See, again the same object is moving with a uniform acceleration a. Then a equal to dv by dt. The first equation that we have started with. Now we are making an arrangement there. You are multiplying and dividing that equation by ds. So it will become dv by ds into ds by dt. Is there any change? No, ds and ds get cancelled. It will be remain as dv by dt. So you are just multiplying and dividing by ds. So this will become dv by ds into ds by dt. What is ds by dt? Rate of change of displacement, that is velocity. So dv by ds into v. Okay, so a is equal to dv by ds into v, and you are taking ds to the left hand side, so a ds is equal to v into dv. A ds is equal to v into dv. Displacement of the object from origin. So s is equal to 0. Let u be the velocity of the object at start and that is at s equal to 0, and v is the velocity at a distance s from the starting point, that is displacement changes from 0 to s. That means when you are observing that object, initially you find that object at origin, and at that time its velocity is u, and after a time t you observe that object at s, at that time its velocity is v. So limit for ds is from 0 to s, limit for dv from u to v. Very simple, no? Then you have to integrate on both sides. So integral a ds with the limit 0 to s equal to integral v dv with the limit u to v. Again, a is a constant, it can be taken out. So a into integral ds will become s from the with the limit 0 to s equal to integral v dv. Integral v dv, again it will become v square by 2 with the limit u to v. So the left hand side will become a into s minus 0, that will be remain as as, and the right hand side will become v square by 2 minus u square by 2. It is clear. Upper limit is v and the lower limit is u. So v square minus u square will become 2, by 2 is equal to as. V square minus u square is equal to 2as, and v square is equal to u square plus 2as. Very simple, no? We have the third equation of motion. V square is equal to u square plus 2as, and we have started with that acceleration equation. A is equal to dv by dt. A equal to dv by dt. Then we have made some arrangement that you are just multiplying and dividing with that ds. So a is equal to dv by ds into ds by dt, but ds by dt is v. So that will become a ds is equal to v dv. Then left hand side you are integrating, right hand side you are integrating. Left hand side limit is from 0 to s, right hand side integration from u to v. Then apply upper limit minus lower limit, you are getting v square minus u square is equal to 2as, and v square is equal to u square plus 2as. That is your third equation of motion. Okay, now the fourth equation of motion. Okay, so the fourth equation of motion is displacement in tth second. Displacement in tth second. And in the last set of derivations, we were making use that displacement in tth second is equal to displacement in t seconds minus displacement in t minus 1 second. Displacement in t seconds minus displacement in t minus 1 seconds, that is the displacement in the tth second. So here also we are making use the same with that integration t minus 1 to t. Integration is taking out from t minus 1 to t. Don't get confused, we will come to that. Okay, so let us consider a particle moving in a straight line with uniform acceleration a. Therefore, v is equal to ds by dt. We know that equation. And ds is equal to v dt, but v is equal to u plus at dt. And displacement in tth second, you have to integrate from t minus 1 second to the tth seconds. T minus 1 seconds to t seconds. So integrating that equation from t minus 1 to t. Limit of integration will become t minus 1 to t. So s also varying from s in t minus 1 to s in t seconds. Just you are getting into the initial point to final point. Here the initial point is st minus 1 and the final point is st. Okay, and the t is varying from t minus 1 to t. So integral is on, integration is on, there is a slight variation there. In that integral equation, it is printed as integral st minus 1 to st ds is equal to u plus at into integral t minus 1 to t dt. But that u plus at also should be there inside the integral sign. Okay, that is a printing mistake in your textbook. So you have to keep u plus at also inside the integral sign. So right hand side, you write in the right hand side as integral u plus at dt within the limit t minus 1 to t. Okay, integral u plus at dt from the limit t minus 1 to t. So integral ds will become s within the limit st minus 1 to st, which is equal to integral t minus 1 to t u dt plus integral t minus 1 to t at dt. Okay, and since u and a are constants, they can be taken outside the integral sign. So that will become integral u into integral t minus 1 to t dt plus a into integral t minus 1 to t dt. Okay, then the left hand side will become st minus s of t minus 1 equal to u into t minus t minus 1, upper limit is t minus lower limit is t minus 1 plus a into t square divided by 2 within the limit t minus 1 to t. Okay, so t left hand side will become st minus st minus 1. What is that? Displacement in t seconds minus displacement in t minus 1 seconds. That is the displacement in tth second. That is denoted as stth. Okay, which is equal to u into t minus t plus 1. When you are break the bracket in the first integral on the right hand side, it will become u into t minus t plus 1. So t minus t will become cancels, so the remaining is 1. So the first term will become u plus half into t square minus t minus 1 square, t square minus t minus 1 square. When you are having t minus 1 square, that is t square minus 2t plus 1, that is multiplied by a negative sign outside. So that will become, in the square bracket it will become t square, it is already there, minus t square plus 2t minus 1. Are you getting that? In the square bracket, in the second integral, in the square bracket you are having t square minus t minus 1 whole square, and t square minus, then you expand t minus 1 whole square, that will become t square minus 2t plus 1. When you are multiplying with the negative side outside, that will become minus t square plus 2t minus 1. Already a t square is there, so all together it will become t square minus t square plus 2t minus 1. So t square and minus t square get cancels. Remaining term will be 2t minus 1 in the square bracket, half a is outside that. So stth will be u plus half a into 2t minus 1. Is there any confusion? I repeat the step. In the second integral, you are having half a outside, you keep that as such. In the square bracket, you are having t square minus t minus 1 whole square. That will become, in the square bracket, t square minus of t square minus 2t plus 1 in the curved bracket. When you are breaking that curved bracket, you have to multiply all the terms in that curved bracket with the minus. So that will become, in the square bracket it will become t square, then that curved bracket you are breaking, minus t square plus 2t minus 1. Okay, then t square and minus t square get cancels. Remaining term will be 2t minus 1. So stth will be u plus half a into 2t minus 1. U plus half a into 2t minus 1. That is your fourth equation of motion. Okay, so that is your fourth equation of motion. That is your fourth equation of motion. So we have derived all the four equations of motion using the method of calculus now. Is it an easy method? Sure, it is an easy method. Means it is easier than your graphical method. So if you know that general rules in differentiation and you are making use of that equations, that general rules in the proper way, and that limits, applying the limits also properly, then it is an easy method. Don't get worried. By practicing, it will be more, you will feel more easy. Find it is an easy method. So these derivations you have to learn by writing. Derivations, don't read the derivations and learn by heart. You have to write and learn. Otherwise, if some steps are missing, you will lose all the connections. So learn it by writing itself. All the derivations you have to learn by writing. And one more thing, suppose it's a means regarding the type of questions and all, I didn't talk to you. So in your question paper, you are having 1 mark question, 2 mark question, 3 mark question and 5 mark question. So each type of question have a particular method of answering. So if it is a 5 mark question, suppose it is, maybe a chance of asking for a 5 mark question means derive the equations of motion, all the equations of motion using the method of calculus, or derive all the equations of motion using the method of graph. Any method can be asked. So when you are deriving these equations, you have to define the situation first. As I explained now, you have to define the explanation. We have to give the explanation. Suppose an object which is moving with an initial velocity u, and when you are starting your observation t is equal to 0, you observe that object at s equal to 0, and you made the final observation at t equal to t, its velocity is v, and its position is found to be at s, and it is moving with a constant acceleration. So all the terms that you have defined there, is it? Then nobody will ask what is u, what is v, what is s, what is t. All these matters you have already defined. Otherwise, if you have started with that equation v is equal to ds by dt, somebody will ask what is v. And when you are applying the limits from u to v without knowing or without explaining all these matters, questions may arise. In your answers, don't keep a chance of arising another questions. You are already answering a question. So from your answer, there should be no chance of another question. That will take away your marks. So your answer should be a perfect answer. And there is no chance of another question from that answer. So your answer should be perfect. So for every derivations in your physics, you have to define the situation and the symbols initially. Whatever symbols you are using, that you have to define initially. Okay, that is a method of answering, or method of writing a good answer, a perfect answer. Not a good answer, it's a perfect answer. Okay, and I think I already told you how to keep 2 notebooks with you, copy with you, one for deriving when making the notes and the other for solving the numericals. So numericals, I will solve some model questions, and that you will upload in the website, our website, and you can go through that model questions, and using that steps and methods you can solve the other questions. Okay, so I already told you it's not a teaching process, it's a teaching learning process. So from your part, an effort is required, and that is a method of learning physics. That is a method of perfect method of learning physics. You can refer to the models and practice by ourselves. Refer to the models and practice ourselves. That is a perfect way of learning physics. Okay, so I will solve some examples and I will send to you, and based on those examples you can solve. It means every type of questions I will solve, which means whatever types are there and whatever questions are arranged based on different types, that questions I will solve and send you, and based on that you can solve another problems also. Okay, so that problems you have to solve in your numerical copy. Problems you have to solve in your numerical copy. And content wise, you have to make the notes referring to your class and the textbook in your copy, physics copy, theoretical copy. Okay, so I already told you, reading textbook is very important. Reading textbook will be very important, and listen the classes properly and understand the things from the class, and you read the textbook, then it will be perfectly alright. And then any issues are there or solving the numericals, you can contact me. Your friends, I think your senior friends are having my WhatsApp number. You can ask them. I can't give you in a public platform like this, so you can collect it from either from the office, or you can collect it from your senior friends. So for any genuine doubts, you can contact me, no problem. Or you are having, finding any difficulty in any theory part or numerical part, you can contact me, no problem. Okay. Anyhow, we have derived the equations of motion now. Three equations of, generally we are important three equations of motion that are commonly used or widely used, that are v is equal to u plus at, then s equal to ut plus half at square, and v square is equal to u square plus 2as. This is, we are talking about the situation when the object is moving along a straight line, horizontal straight line, moving along a horizontal straight line. Suppose an object is throwing in upward direction. You are throwing an object in upward direction. So a constant force is acting on that object. Which force is that? If you are throwing that object, it is beyond your hands, or you can't apply any more force on that. But since it is experiencing a force, which force? Gravity, gravitational force. So according to Newton, wherever there is a force, there should be an acceleration. So it is also going with a constant acceleration in the vertical upward direction. The object is moving in the constant velocity with a vertically upward direction. What is the acceleration acting on that object? I can hear some of you or most of you are saying that it is g, acceleration due to gravity. Listen the situation properly. An object is thrown in the upward direction. So what is the acceleration acting on that object? Still you are saying that it is g, then it is wrong. When the object is moving in the upward direction, gravitational force is acting in the downward direction. So what is the direction of acceleration? Acceleration is in the direction of force only. Acceleration is acting in the downward direction and the object is moving in the upward direction. So according to the movement, acceleration is acting in opposite direction. So you have to consider that as negative acceleration. Are you getting me? Object is moving in the upward direction, but the gravitational force or acceleration due to gravity is acting in the downward direction. So that acceleration due to gravity is negative. So acceleration is minus g there. If the object is moving in the upward direction under the influence of gravity, its acceleration is minus g. So what will happen to the first equation of motion? V is equal to u plus at. A you can replace by minus g. So v is equal to u minus gt. Are you getting me? Yes, that is v is equal to u minus gt is the first equation of motion for an object moving in the upward direction. What about the second equation? S equal to ut plus half a t square. A you can replace by minus g. So that equation will become S equal to ut minus half gt square. Okay. Then what is the third equation? V square is equal to u square plus 2as. What is a now? Minus g. So what will becomes that equation? V square is equal to u square minus 2gs. V square is equal to u square minus 2gs. Is it clear? I think I made it clear. If the object is moving upward in the influence of gravity, acceleration acting on is minus g. Then in that equations of motion you have to replace a with minus g and all other terms will remain the same. Suppose object is moving downward, then a is equal to g only. If the object is moving downwards, since the force is acting in the downwards, acceleration is also in the downwards, so acceleration and movement are in the same direction, so a equal to g. What about that equation? V is equal to u plus gt, s equal to ut plus half gt square, v square is equal to u square plus 2gs. And again, s you can replace by vertical direction. What is s displacement? Now the movement is in the vertical direction. Vertical displacement you are measuring as height. Measuring displacement measured in the vertical direction is height. So when the particle is moving upward direction, v is equal to u minus gt, h equal to ut minus half gt square, v square is equal to u square minus 2gh. Clear? When the particle is moving downwards, v is equal to u plus gt, h equal to ut plus half gt square and v square is equal to u square plus 2gh. These are the equations of motion under gravity. Equations of motion under gravity in upward direction and downward direction separately. Is it clear? Equations of motion under gravity in the upward direction as well as in the downward direction. Clear? Okay. So again another situation is there. Suppose an object is sliding over a smooth inclined plane. Sliding over a smooth inclined plane. Then what are the forms of equations of motion? Equations of motion along the smooth inclined plane. Can you imagine that? A smooth inclined plane and an object is sliding down or sliding up. Can you imagine? I will show you now. See the diagram. AB is that inclined plane making an angle theta with the horizontal direction. That is theta is the inclination. And see O is the object and it is sliding down. And G is acting vertically downwards, which makes an angle theta perpendicular to the inclined plane, so that G can have two components. It's cos theta. We will come to that when we are talking about the vectors. It will be more clear. So anyhow here you have to remember that that G can be split into two components. G cos theta component is acting perpendicular to the inclined plane and G sin theta is acting along the inclined plane. So G sin theta is the acceleration acting along the inclined plane. If it is moving in the downward direction, G sin theta is also acting along the same direction, so it can be taken as positive. Okay, and if the particle is moving in the upward directions, G sin theta is always acting in the downward direction. So in the case when the particle is sliding upwards, then acceleration will be minus G sin theta. If the particle is sliding down, then A is equal to G sin theta. A equal to G sin theta, or it is climbing up, then it will be minus G sin theta. So equations of motion will become, first equation is V is equal to U plus AT. If it is moving down, I am talking about the particle is sliding down. So V is equal to U plus AT, that A can be replaced by G sin theta. So equations will become V is equal to U plus G sin theta into T. Second equation is S equal to UT plus half AT square, and A you can replace by G sin theta. Third equation will become V square is equal to U square plus 2AS, and A again replaced by G sin theta. This is the case when the particle is sliding down. And when it is climbing up, what will happen? That G sin theta you can replace by minus G sin theta. So that equations will become V is equal to U minus G sin theta T, S equal to UT minus half G sin theta T square, and V square is equal to U square minus 2G sin theta into S. So that is the case, the movement along smooth inclined plane. Okay, so that is equations of motion using graph method, calculus method, then motion under gravity, then finally motion along an inclined plane. So that's all about your first chapter that we have started with the first chapter, that is motion along a straight line. Okay, so we have defined state of rest, state of motion, then differentiated state of rest from state of motion, then we have seen different properties of motion, different graphs we have seen: velocity, displacement time graph, velocity time graph, acceleration time graph, and the inferences that you can take from each and every graph. Then equations of motion using graph, using calculus, then in gravity, under gravity, motion under gravity, and along the inclined plane. So that's all about your first chapter, and you prepare the notes, go through the concepts very well, and be up to date. Okay, that is very important. So after one class, you just refer to that classes and textbook, and make thorough the concept that we have discussed in that class. Okay, so that's all for now, and we will meet after some time, and till then, be healthy, eat well, and prepare for your boards also. We will meet again. Okay.